On today's episode, we are going to be talking about how you protect yourself, strategies to protect yourself from the impacts of stress so that you can still heal and you can still grow as a person and you can still protect yourself from the way that stress can impact you when your stress feels inescapable.
This is Alive and Thriving, where we tackle all things that stand in the way of holistic well-being and self-care in life and as women in business. Join me for real and raw conversations and inspiring guests who are expert in their fields as we come back to life together, overcoming stress, anxiety, nourishing our mind, body, and emotions. I am your host, Jessica Reed, alternative therapist, life and wellbeing coach. And if you are ready to grow, heal, and thrive together, then you are in the right place.
So sometimes there are just situations that we can't escape from for whatever reason, or we feel like we can't escape from for whatever reason, that are causing us stress, that are causing us emotional discomfort. And it can feel like trying to keep yourself protected, trying to do any kind of healing work, any kind of personal growth, any sort of personal development when you are in these stressful situations can feel really counterintuitive because, you're trying to heal, or you're trying to deal with triggers, or you're trying to not feel stressed every day, yet the stress is all around you. Now, sorts of situations that, I might be referring to here, and it's going to be obviously dependent on your own personal circumstances, but this could look like things like workplace stress, children, home stress, relationship stress. And at any point when your mental and physical health is being impacted, when you're not happy, when you're not aligned, at any point, you do have every right to stop and say, what is in my control right now? And of what is in my control, do I need to be putting up with this? Remembering that you are allowed to remove yourself from situations, even if some do feel inescapable. But let's chat about ways that you can support yourself when you are in the midst of these inescapable situations. So let's say, something's going on with one of your children and it's been going on long term, and you have been living in this place of high stress for a long time. Or something at work, or as I said, relationships, whatever your stressful situation is that feels inescapable. So the first thing that we want to be doing is we want to be regulating regularly. Say that fast 3 times. Regulating regularly. Now, when we feel like we can't escape our stress and we feel stuck, we are stuck in this constant state of fight or flight. We are living in that state of where our amygdala is heightened, where we are sensing that there could potentially be danger, and that danger may come in the form of uncomfortable emotions. It may come in the form of sadness. It may come in the form of arguments. It may come in the form of whatever, again, is going on for you in your situation. And in those moments too, where we're feeling good, maybe there's a good day, maybe, we have a bit of a break from whatever has been going on, we still stay stuck in that state of stress because there's anticipation, because there's worry, because there's memories and thoughts and things that have happened that our brain is associated and is now made as triggers. So regulating regularly is going to break that stress cycle. And you hear me say this all of the time, how important that is. We need to be intervening our stress response for our mental and our physical and emotional well-being. talk about physical well-being, there is so many things now that is being linked back to stress, so many different illnesses that is being linked back to having stress as a contributor or even stress as root cause, things that could potentially be preventable. Now, things that could regulate your nervous system, things like tapping. I'm always going to be an advocate for EFT tapping. It's so great because you can use it in the moment. You don't have to escape the stress. It's fast and effective. It has been proven to lower cortisol levels with evidence of it lowering cortisol by around 43% in just 1 hour in one particular study that was done. So regulate regularly. Regular exercise, gentle movement, stretching, yoga, meditation, breath work. Regulating regularly, finding what works for you, but intentionally intervening your stress. And now this may seem counterintuitive to you because you think, well, I'm just going to do this self-care, and don't think of this stress intervention as self-care in the way that you need to set aside a heap of time, or you need to have a heap of money, or you need to go and indulge in something. No, this self-care is essential nervous system regulation. It is essential for your digestion to function properly. It is essential for your logical mind to be able to engage, for you to be able to process memories and thoughts properly. It is essential for you to be able to think clearly. It is essential for your long-term health and well-being. So regular regulation. And every time that you intervene that stress response, every time that you engage your parasympathetic nervous system, so your rest and digest nervous system, which is the opposite to your sympathetic, which is your stress response nervous system. Every time you engage that parasympathetic nervous system, it is like building a muscle. So if you have spent a long time with your sympathetic, your stress response being predominantly dominant, and it is more dominant, then regularly practicing that regulation and helping to strengthen that parasympathetic nervous system, helping it become more dominant, is going to help you when you are triggered, because you will start to have more, intentional ability to help yourself switch out of stress and into relaxation. More self-awareness to know that you have gone from being calm and regulated and into an unregulated state. And then you can intentionally choose to help yourself back there. So yes, the stress may be consistent. The stress may be ongoing. It may be inescapable because you wake up with it in the morning and you go to bed with it at nighttime. It may feel inescapable. So your regulation is going to help how you deal with this. Okay? It is going to help your capability and your ability to be able to process more and deal with what you need to deal with. Because when we are stressed, we have reached what our brain believes is our capability for coping. It's like a coping threshold. And every time we strengthen that parasympathetic nervous system, we are strengthening our coping threshold. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about when it comes to protecting yourself when the stress is inescapable is processing, not suppressing. Now, I won't go super deep into this because the whole last week's episode was all about processing, sitting with what you need to sit with, feeling what you need to feel in order to process and let go. But just quickly, if you've missed that, processing your emotions in the moment or within, a 24-hour time frame. Because what happens is if we, again, are living in this constant state of stress, or we are facing some highly challenging emotions, perhaps there's a lot of sadness and then frustration and then anger and you've got these waves of emotions happening. When we are experiencing these regularly and we just push them back down, we're not validating how we're feeling, we're not dealing with it in the moment or as close to the moment as we can, then we're pushing it back into our body, which one is going to keep you even more in that state of stress, that state of dysregulation, but two is also going to cause that low vibrational frequency of those emotions into the soft tissue around wherever your body is storing it. You are going to end up with unexplained pains, unexplained illnesses. You are going to end up feeling really physically low. You may notice more exhaustion than normal. You may notice more fatigue. You may notice more mood changes. If you haven't already experienced anxiety or panic, it may even extend into that. So just allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to process what you need to process as a part of your toolkit to supporting yourself through whatever it is that you are going through. So if you've had a bad day, and I'm just going to use the child example again, if you've had a bad day with your kids and it's been long-term stress and, you're feeling angry and you're feeling frustrated, and then you just go off and pretend like that didn't happen, but you don't sit down and actually process how you are feeling, then that is just going to bubble and bubble and bubble inside. Okay, so what we resist will persist. So processing and not suppressing might look like, again, EFT tapping. So this might look like sitting down at the end of the day and saying, even though I was really triggered by my child this morning, I accept that I feel this way. Even though I did not respond the way I wanted to this morning, I accept that this happened and I choose to let this go today. Even though I felt angry, upset, intimidated, overwhelmed, even though this has happened to me today, I choose to process it in this moment and release it from my body. So just intentionally releasing. Now, you may like to journal. Journaling is also a fantastic tool for that processing, and using something really somatic as well. So really body-based, like shaking. Okay, so if you haven't learned to shake down before, shaking is fantastic to release what needs to be released from the muscles. A progressive muscle relaxation can help with that tension release as well. You may like to find somebody, I know, well, it's only 8 in Australia actually, but I have a Flowpresso suit. So the Flowpresso body suit is a 3-in-1 therapy that combines compression with far infrared heat with deep pressure therapy. And, because we are storing these emotions in our tissue, we're storing it in our body. When this device glides the body's fascia system, we are allowing the emotions to free and release as well. So just finding ways, again, to process and not suppress. And now I encourage you with processing to really consider how you do this verbally and who you are engaging with verbally if you are processing. Remembering that sometimes when we can talk about things, we can actually re-traumatize ourselves. We can work ourselves up because the brain does not necessarily know the difference between something that has happened in the past and something that is happening now. And that's why you can talk about something that has really upset you, and you can feel like you're back in that moment, like you are reliving it over and over again. So just when you're considering the processing, again, doing it in a productive and healthy outlet way, such as EFT, journaling, or some sort of body-based somatic therapy. And then the final thing that I want to talk about when it comes to protection, which really is quite essential and a lot of people put off as not having time for or not priority because they're dealing with other issues that aren't actually their issues, is getting some good support. And again, this is beyond chatting to a friend. This is beyond just getting other people's advice and opinions. This is finding somebody who can hold the space for you, who can help you to process and release what you need to, who can help you to work through the triggers, because those triggers are also helping to keep you in this space of not coping through your stress. And the more you can work through your triggers, the more you can support your inner growth, your inner healing, the better position you are going to be in to deal with whatever you need to deal with. Because I think sometimes we think, I'll wait for this situation to be done and then I'll get help. Then I'll get some kind of therapy. Then I'll get some kind of healing done. But to actually have that support from somebody who is external to your personal circumstances, somebody who can give you coping strategies, a safe place for you to go to keep your head above water while everything else around you is just moving like a rapid current. So finding some good support. Now, if you listen to me or you follow me, you know that I offer a private service for alternative therapies. I work with EFT tapping, clinical hypnotherapy, holistic life coaching, holistic counseling, meditation therapy, body psychotherapy, all sorts of tools. A really fantastic toolkit to help you work through stress, anxiety, PTSD, trauma, personal growth. So these are all techniques and tools that I bring into one session. So whatever you need in that moment is what we do. There are many fantastic therapists out there, whether you go down a clinical route, whether you go down an alternative route, but finding someone who you gel with, someone who you feel safe with, and ideally someone who can help you work with your body as well as your mind, because honestly, releasing things from the body is where the big shifts will happen for you. So finding some good support. So let's just quickly recap. Protecting ourselves from the inescapable stress. 1, we want to regulate regularly. Intentionally breaking your stress cycle. Intentionally helping your body to regain its control, regain back into rest and digest nervous system. And the more we do this, the more we strengthen that ability to switch back after the stress has happened. Okay, the more break we get from the physical feelings, the awful way that we feel when we're stressed, and the brain fog and the confusion and the mental overwhelm, as well as the physical sensations, the knots in our tummies, the tightness in our chest. We start to get a break from those things. So regulate regularly. Now, number 2, processing, not suppressing. So giving yourself permission to feel and to deal and just to not push it down. Taking that intentional time to address what you need to address. Validate how you feel. And 3, finding good support. Somebody to hold that space for you, to help you with your coping tools and to help you keep your head above the water. If you have any questions from today's episode, I would love to hear from you. You can get in touch with me over on Instagram, jessica.reed.ilc. I'll link it all in the show notes. If you are curious as to what one-on-one healing sessions with me may look like for you, then I invite you to book a complimentary chat. So we just have a 15 to 20 minute phone call. It's completely obligation free because I don't want you to work with me if you don't want to. If I'm not the right person for you, then that is certainly not any kind of offense to me. So it's great to have that chat, to answer any questions and to see if this pathway might be helpful for you. And you can book that call via the link in the show notes as well. So that's my website, work-with-jessica. Have the best week. And just remember, as I said at the very beginning, what do you have control over? And what do you not have control over? And it is really essential too when we're thinking about protection. And I know I've just said goodbye, but when we're thinking about protection, just being really aware as to where we're putting our energy. And if we are putting all of our energy into things that we don't have control over, then that is also a really great place to start. Because what you don't have control over, you can't change. What you do have control over is how you regulate, how you process, and how you get support, which is all going to impact how you show up.
You have been listening to Alive and Thriving by Inspired Life Collective. Did you know that you can help us to impact even more women on their well-being journey simply by subscribing to this podcast and leaving a review? If stress or anxiety, life or business has got you feeling inside like you are just busting to come back to life, then I invite you to book a discovery call with me so we can chat about how Inspired Life Collective private and online services might be able to support you through your journey. I am so grateful to you for being here and having me in your ears. So until the next episode, just remember that you were born to thrive.